when you speak from the heart, you're very vulnerable, and people notice that. So that, to me, is what takes courage, because you can tell the truth, and yet it's not a push for you. When you're really laying yourself on the line, that's what I think people notice, and that's what I think keeps it real.
Language shapes reality. No, let me say that again. Language controls reality. The way we speak sets up our behavior and the responses we get from other people. Now think about this. We have a lot of words in our language that are victim words. I'll try, I hope, maybe, perhaps, tomorrow, I'll give it my best shot. None of that is committal language. None of it has a commitment in it. Owner language, on the other hand, is commitment-based. I will, I promise, you can count on me. Can you hear the conviction in that language? Well, in the world of language, language shapes and controls what happens. So that means we have to be very careful about the language we choose. When we choose owner language, we produce results. Here we are in segment 6, speaking from the heart. And the last time I talked to you, we were talking about the 5-step model. You remember the first step in the 5-step model for holding to account? Which is declaring the breakdown. And as I recall, we had an interesting conversation about a breakdown. What did we talk about?
The hats.
The hats. You say that with such joy. Can we get a little more excited about it? We talked about the hats.
The high mesh back.
We talked about the hats as a symbolic conversation for how to deal with breakdowns and how people work together. Now, we did not complete handling that breakdown, because when you complete handling a breakdown, you always complete with request. You may have a request of me, and I may have a request of you. And there's a reason why we go to request. If I complain about something, what happens? Do we get anything done with a complaint? No. But if I make a request, what happens?
Future action.
That's right. It turns it into action. A request is really taking a complaint or something you care about, something you're committed to, and turning it into a request that causes an action to take place. So anytime you go to talk to somebody in a one-on-one conversation or a meeting, you have to ask yourself first, what request do I want to make? And then you have to manage the response. Very important, because that's high performance, and it leads you into high performance action. So what request do you have to me about props? And then I'm going to look for requests I have to you.
Well, the request that I would make is that in future...
Are you looking at my props over there? I
yes,
saw your
actually,
eyes,
I am. Yeah. Something about those red hearts. But no, my request would be that we have some discussion about the props and how they're to be used, so that we can then at least express whether we're comfortable or not with using that prop.
Good idea. And then I accept that request. So these are the 3 responses to a request. A person can either accept the request, they can decline it and say, no, I cannot accept that request, or they can give you a counteroffer. And a counteroffer would be, Warren, how about every other segment I'll let you have your opinion? That's not the counteroffer, but that could be a counteroffer. Now, if you just make a request and you don't manage the response, it doesn't go anywhere either, because you don't know whether you have a commitment. So part of holding to account is tying everything down and eliminating wiggle room. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, any other requests you have of me? Because then I'll make some of you, or at least one. That'll do it? Okay. Then my request of you is any way you see that we can be better at being a high-performing team in building this video is to communicate it out loud. Do you accept my request?
Yes.
I do.
And can I count on you to do that?
Yes.
Great. Okay, let's have a discussion about these props. Warren, we have a heart out here. The segment is on Speaking from the Heart. Let me give you your heart.
Thank you.
Thank you, he said so nicely. And we have a badge for Speaking from the Heart. Why do you think we have these 2 props out here? What's the purpose of that?
To symbolize speaking from the heart.
Yeah, but we have 2 props there.
2 props.
Did you ever see The Wizard of Oz?
I did.
He said that with trepidation, didn't he? Do you remember The Wizard of Oz?
Not very well.
Does anybody remember the character who got the heart in The Wizard of Oz?
Tin Man.
The Tin Man got the heart, and what did the lion get?
Courage.
He got the badge for courage. So now you have in your hand a heart and a badge. Now, what do you think they have to do with this segment on Speaking from the Heart? If you need help, you just turn to your team.
That's right. I'm going to need some help on this one, team.
Jump in, team.
You're on your own, Warren.
If one fails, we all fail.
They're not in Kansas anymore.
Oh, really? You have to have courage to speak from the heart. That's sometimes a very hard thing
Good.
to do.
You have to have courage to speak from the heart. Go ahead. Bring these props to life. What do they symbolize to you? Bring them to life. Notice this. It's your speaking that brings something to life. Props are neither good nor bad, by the way. Caps are neither good nor bad. Whistles aren't good or bad. It's what we do with them, again, isn't it? It's how we bring them to life. So if you were committed to making those props work, and I'm going to ask you for a moment to be committed to making those props work, how would you bring them to life in your speaking? Anything can work. It's how we speak about it, right? Bring them to life. Everybody jump in. Don't let Warren hold the heart.
You have to hold it up to your chest, Warren.
He has to put it on, doesn't he?
I'm going to wear the hat.
There you go. We like that even better. Now, he wears it.
Do you need the courage now?
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
should
that's
have
good.
Courage too. Well, you better put that one on too,
Yeah, you
so
better
you have
put the
both.
courage on too.
Now you've got the courage.
There
Now,
we
what
go.
does that mean by symbolism? The heart and the badge to you.
I think that when you truly speak from the heart, you're very vulnerable, and people notice that. So that to me is what takes courage, because you can tell the truth, and yet it's not a push for you. When you're really laying yourself on the line, that's what I think people notice, and that's what I think keeps it real.
Yes, very definitely. Anybody else want to add or build on that?
Well, I think, too, with the courage part of it, it's the heart is there for the caring side of you wouldn't be bringing up an issue or wanting to have a request unless you actually cared about the person and the situation that you're in. So having the heart to care enough to be there for the other person, too, is important.
Yes. Good. And Remy, did I see your lips move?
I was going. When you speak from the heart, it is authentic. But what I was going to say first was we're still missing a brain here. What's symbolizing?
Oh!
What's symbolizing the brain?
No brain.
I can't move forward till we get a brain symbol.
Now, so let me ask you a question as a group. Are we speaking from the heart to each other now, more than we were in the first segment that we videotaped?
Clearly.
What's different about how we're interacting as a group now? Now we are 6 segments later. Each video segment takes a certain amount of time, as you all know, in preparation. We are 6 segments later. What's the difference between who we are being now as a group, how we are behaving as a group, compared to segment 1?
We have a tendency in business to get involved on the technical side of stuff. And when we first started this video, we were concerned about the technology, the cameras, the lights, the set, whether or not the microphones were working, and we were forgetting about the fact that we're people. And the result was suffering because the people part of it was missing. And now I think we're paying much more attention to the fact that we're all human beings. We all have personalities. The personalities are what makes things interesting. And now the technology is sort of in the background. We're getting better results because we're paying more attention to the people.
Great explanation. How about for the rest of you? What's happening for you? What's different between segment number 1 and segment number 6 in terms of how we are working as a team?
I think for me, you're part of our team. I think the first day
Oh,
of that,
well,
we were
thank you.
kind of a team of 8, and now I feel we're one team.
Well, that's great.
And we have the courage and the trust to speak from the heart with you and with each other as well. And that's when the authenticness comes out. I mean, that's when the truth comes out.
Yeah, we get authentic, we get real, and we have velocity, we have speed. So in business, high performance comes from when we have this, when we have our courage and our heart, although I should say that Remy's pointed out we haven't had the brain here.
We're working on that.
We're working on that, right? We have collective intelligence, but the courage and the heart together allows us to move with speed, because now we can deal with any issue quickly and get right to the point, correct? And that's speaking from the heart. So the first part of speaking from the heart is you must make request, turn any complaint into action or any commitment into action, manage the response, and then from there we go on and develop even more skills from speaking from the heart. That's just the first part.
Laird, I've had the opportunity now to spend some time going through the various U pluses and team pluses. Your facilitators use the word hedging, victim mentality, maybe, perhaps, I'll try. Couple key questions. One, is that pervasive throughout our organization? And two, maybe more importantly, feedback for me from a coaching perspective, Do I use those words?
Do you use hedging words? Is that what
Yes.
you're asking me?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
That was
Not-
short and sweet.
Not as much as you used to, though, because when I had an opportunity to look at your speeches and give you input, in the beginning they were very soft in terms of declarative statements.
Yes.
They were not speeches where you would take a strong stand. Now that is not true. You do take a strong stand. In order to do that, though, you eliminated some hedging phrases. So, what are some of the favorite hedging phrases that you recall that you use from time to time?
I think is a big one of mine.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Another one is, I need time to reflect.
And when you say to people, I need time to reflect, do you just leave them hanging?
I'm leaving myself hanging first and foremost because I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I usually don't complete the sentence. I usually say, I need time to reflect. Feedback I receive from my coaches or my committed partner is, well, tell me how long that's going to be. Is it going to be an hour? Is it going to be a day? Is it going to be a week? Whatever the case might be.
Yes, because they're holding you to account. Because one of the most important questions in holding to account is by when. In other words, to that one, by when, John, are you going to get back to us?
Okay. And it's great, and I thank my coaches for that because it was very common for me to say, I need time to reflect. Thinking it was okay not to give them the time frame. Once I gave them the time frame, a whole different air or perspective was in place that, oh, okay, we'll give him time. He's the CEO. If he needs a week, that's fine. But we know within a week he's going to get back to us.
As we're talking about speaking from the heart, we left off having a conversation about props. You made a request to me to talk about props, so we better talk about it. I accepted the request. So we have the hearts and the badge of courage out there. Does that work for you as a prop, as a symbol for what speaking from the heart is? And take a look at Warren. Does he work for you?
Does it work for you, Warren?
Actually, I'm okay with it now that I've had it on for a while, yeah.
It's okay?
Yeah.
It's
I
okay.
think,
Would you like your teammates to have one too?
I think they should.
Okay, pass them out. Share in the process. Well, thanks, because that prop's a pretty symbolic one. It's a good one. And as you're putting it on, let's start the discussion about what speaking from the heart really means, because it gets misinterpreted. What do you think speaking from the heart means, or what does it mean to you?
What I feel that it means to me is being real and being vulnerable, and if that person can sense that you're perhaps even a little bit uncomfortable, and that's how real it is, that's speaking from the heart. There's nothing being held back.
And it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
How would you define speaking from the heart?
It's about caring rather than getting something off my chest.
It's with the intent of helping the relationship go forward, with solving the problem together, with supporting the other person.
Good. Now, is it, when you hear the phrase speaking from the heart, it sometimes sounds like a very soft skill, that it's a skill of, sharing your feelings. Does it mean sharing your feelings?
Not
No.
necessarily.
It means
no.
being genuine, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, could Mike speak from the heart? Remy? Larry? They could speak from the heart? Does it mean the same thing to you, speaking from the heart?
Yeah, it does. Saying what I'm feeling is for someone, and I guess for me there is an emotional connection to it. It's not a feeling, but there is an emotional connection to what I'm saying.
Yes, very good. A difference between a feeling versus an
Yeah.
emotional connection. And we do know that when we actually work with people, we get an intellectual and emotional connection, and that is what high performance is. It's the combination of those two, minds and hearts engaged. And you've heard it, that employee engagement. When we all get engaged together, it's minds and hearts together. So that makes complete sense with that. So now let's take speaking from the heart a bit further, because it does have a lot to do with language. We know we have to be real, correct? And we have to be genuine. So there's two types of languages that we use, and we started to talk about it. One is victim language. Give me an example of victim language. We've got 6 of them right in front of our eyes. What's the first one?
Well, the you for me. Like I'm not taking accountability, I'm directing the action
So number 5.
onto you. I'm going to number 5.
Yes. So give me an example. Do an example. Or do it with someone in the group.
Well, if I'm experiencing some difficulty, or we have a challenge about a situation and a problem, if I say you have to do something, I'm not taking any accountability to resolve that. I'm looking at your direction to take accountability and to do something about it. So I'm more victim, and I'm not controlling the outcome of that problem at all.
Yes.
I'm
and
not
you're-
involved in the action.
Yes, and you're pointing the finger
Yeah.
to you. Now, here's the thing about you. You in first position, that's how we call it. You in first position, like you blew it. You dropped the ball. You disappointed me. You let me down. Do you hear the you in first position? You in first position, the first word of a sentence, is very different. It's more an attack than if you said, I feel that you. Do you even hear the difference if you say, I feel? Because the I comes back to me, doesn't it? The only time you in first position of a sentence works is when?
You make me feel like this.
Yeah, remember that automatic, that natural way of
Yes.
speaking. Yeah, you made me feel, or you did something to me.
Unless
It's in our language.
Unless it's you made me feel fabulous, then I guess. I
And
can say
then, then you in the first position is good. Now, the most important thing to notice as we look at these words is when you look at that list, do you use those words a lot? Somebody take another one.
The word number 2, try, it resonates with me. It's
You
a
want to
word,
try to explain it?
I'm going to try. I find myself often using that as a response to a situation where something hasn't gone well. Why don't you try harder or try something different? Which in a way, again, shifts. I'm not sure if it doesn't, my accountability doesn't come out in that it's all about you and you didn't do
So
it
you
right.
say to somebody else, do an example, do a role play here.
Okay, Larry, why don't you try speaking up a little louder in this session?
I'll try my best, Remy.
Okay, so okay.
Well, did that conversation inspire
my
anybody
best.
here?
I could whisper.
No.
I tried my best.
Because what do we have? With the word try, it gives us what?
There's an out.
There's always an out. There's always an escape loop. There's always wiggle room. So try means what? Is try a commitment?
No.
Completely non-committal. And yet it's probably the most overused victim word in our language, try. I would like you to try to give up try for 48 hours, not use it once. Give it a shot, and then you'll notice how unconscious it is and how much it is in your vocabulary.
That's a challenge because as coaches, try is a very natural word. Why don't you try different paths or options or ways of doing things? So
Well, do it a different way, though. It's just an automatic. You're right. But to have the same conversation with Larry, replace try with something else.
Okay.
Larry, the microphones aren't picking up the audio as well as it should be, and I would no. Yeah.
So what's happening, though? You're getting stuck a little. What is it?
Well, I used the word I, and
That's okay.
That's
okay.
It should be comfortable with me, but it wasn't. So
Okay.
I would suggest maybe just speaking a little louder so it makes it easier on the audio people to.
Well, we're still softening with the word hedging, suggesting,
Yeah.
etc. Now, let's get coaching really clear. Coaching is very direct. The best kind of coaching is direct, straightforward, authentic, and real. Remember, we're talking about speaking from the heart. So listen to the two different scenarios. I'll do it with Larry here. Larry, I want you to try to speak up more at meetings. I think it would help.
I'll try.
Okay, that's one. Version 1, we heard the language, right? Let me try another one. Larry, we need your input at meetings. Therefore, my request is that you speak up more so we get your full contribution. Do you accept my request?
I do.
Ooh, I do. And a try, all on one
There we
thing.
go.
We got all the words together.
Bring the rice.
Bring the rice.
It's all over but the crying.
Now think about it. If you were getting married and you answered, I'll try, when they said you take this, would that work?
Be more realistic.
But it's not going to be accepted as a commitment. So when you think about it, wasn't there more power in a very direct coaching? Now, I think what's happening, Remy, is we have been so trained in life automatically to hedge, to be politically correct, to soften things, to ask in nice ways, perhaps you should consider, may I make a recommendation? Would you like to look at this? Aren't we trained in that type of speaking? Yeah. It's not high performance speaking. See, in high performance it says if we have agreed that we are going to be a high performance team, if we are committed to the success of each other, we have therefore given each other permission to have a shorthand communication that is respectful and responsible and cuts right to the chase. We don't have to do all this other wiggle room talk. We don't need to mess around with that. That slows us down, doesn't it? Would that not slow down our speed of results? If Remy says, I want you to try to do something, what you really meant was, do it. I need action here. We do not need you on the team not performing at your best. In fact, we need you at your best, and anything less is unacceptable. Now, isn't that the real message?
Yeah, clearly. I use way too many words.
It's not even so much that you use too many words, because we all do. It's can we speak from the heart? Can we be authentic and genuine and real and be direct? See, you've got two badges you're wearing. The badge of courage is for talking straight responsibly. The heart is for bringing the genuineness to that speaking. It's that marriage between those two.